this goes back. The Mail on Sunday have been leading the charge on this story involving Thomas Markle. It goes right back to the build-up to the wedding when pictures appeared of Thomas Markle trying on his new suit and all this kind of thing.
Researching the royal
family. And the Mail on Sunday
online.
discovered that he'd actually collaborated with a paparazzi to do these pictures. And, of course, Prince Harry hates the paparazzi for reasons that we know. He and Meghan go completely nuts about this. He then begins to suffer in all the backlash that goes on, chest pains, and ends up in hospital 4 days before the wedding having heart surgery. And Hilary will come to you in a moment for exactly what that was. In these texts, which have now been leaked from the court papers, and I would be staggered if this ever gets to court, because to me it's very damaging, not to Thomas Markle, as perhaps the royals expected, but to Meghan and Harry, who just come over as completely heartless. But it may or may not. But just on the health point here, Hilary, tell us what Thomas Markle had, because he's now submitted his medical records as part of it. So now all the conjecture is over, the facts are coming out. What did he have? And the fact that he had this procedure 4 days before the wedding, and he was down in Mexico, so it's a good, 12-hour flight. Could he have made the wedding? He said he's been advised not to.
So much depends on what he actually had. The initial report said he'd had a heart attack. Other reports said he had congestive heart failure. Now, congestive heart failure can be caused by a blockage of the coronary arteries, the main arteries which supply oxygen to the heart muscle. Now, if that's the case and he had an angioplasty where they would have put a wire mesh into the coronary arteries to open up the arteries to regain the supply of the blood, if you like, to the coronary muscle, then, depending on the stage of his heart damage and how bad his congestive heart failure was, he may well have been told not to fly. If you're 30,000 feet over the Atlantic...
He's 74 years old. He's
not well.
Overweight. He's had ill health.
Absolutely.
He'd had chest pains, then more chest pains. Then he has this procedure. As his physician, on balance, would you be advising him not to fly?
Absolutely.
For that length
in normal circumstances, you wouldn't want to be 30,000 feet over the Atlantic with no medical help for hours either side when you've had a heart procedure and you're already unwell. Absolutely, you wouldn't want to go. However, this is a magical, special occasion, and there are always circumstances where you can say
under
it's
normal,
your own
you would say, look, it's
risk.
his daughter's wedding. This is not just any wedding. This is a wedding where he was going to have to walk down an aisle in front of 1 billion television viewers.
Yes.
So
stressful.
That in itself is obviously stressful.
Of course.
That has to be factored in. So, Andrew, what's interesting to me about all this, there were so many cynics about Thomas Markle's story. And we had him on this show. We did the first interview with him and the second interview with him. And I got to say, I believed him. I thought he came over as naive. He'd been foolish in working with paparazzi. He did it to present a better image of himself than the pictures that were coming out of him constantly carrying a six-pack of beer and looking dishevelled. He wanted to look a little bit better, I think, for the pictures, and he made a mistake. But he's been completely disowned. Harry has never met this man. Harry, according to the reports I read here in these texts, is partly responsible for some of the more, as he puts it, abusive and hurtful messages. What do you make of all this, and what do you make of the impending trial, which, as the Daily Mail says today about its sister paper, is going to be one of the trials of a century if it comes to it?
You have to remember, the Mail on Sunday didn't steal this letter or pay for this letter. He volunteered it to the Mail on Sunday after there was a very damaging article about Mr Markle Sr. in People magazine in the United States, highly critical of him, and it had been briefed there...
And very well sourced.
Very well sourced. 3 friends of Meghan Markle. That was the first time we knew this letter even existed. So they put it, her side, put it in the public domain. Now, Meghan Markle will have to tell the court whether she knew whether those friends did it. They're very close friends. I think it's inconceivable. She didn't know what was going on. It was her. So, in a sense,
I also don't understand...
This private letter, she put in the public
Full disclosure, you work for the Daily Mail. I do a column for the Mail on Sunday's event magazine. So, I work for the paper. I've got to say, I don't know what they've done wrong here. If Thomas Markle wants to give a paper, a letter to contradict what he says are false claims about him in People magazine that have been leaked, he says in the court paper, by her friend.
Well, because it is
I think he's entitled
Well, hang on,
to.
but you see, and the point here, the crux of this is it's a breach of copyright because the writer of the letter owns the copyright. The Mail on Sunday making the case...
She might win a Pyrrhic victory over copyright, but she will lose, I think, a hearts and minds battle here with
the public interest.
Because she won't look like, I believe, an innocent victim here, and you're going to get a family's dirty washing paraded in public, unpleasant for a family. All families has rows and tensions and so on. These are very public figures. but also we will see fully and understand better why they're also very angry with the royal family and they want to leave. It is not just the media coverage, there are real tensions there, and there are some things we can't discuss for legal reasons publicly now. But when people hear and see that, they will be better informed and they will change their mind.
Let's take a look and remind ourselves of what Thomas Markle told this programme.
I've been trying to reach out for several weeks. Every day I try to text her. I just haven't received any comment back. I'm hopeful that soon something will be resolved and we'll be talking. This can't continue forever. People are saying I should be quiet about this and not speak. If I don't speak, they'll be speaking. They will speak to me. That hasn't happened. I don't plan to be silent for the rest of my life. I love my daughter very much, and she has to know that, and I would really appreciate it if she would just call me, reach out somehow to me.
You see, I felt sorry for him at the time. I felt sorry for him since then, and I felt particularly sorry for him reading all this stuff that's come out today from the documents that have been lodged, because people didn't believe him.